Lesson 1 is on exponential notation. So we're going to start out with a little bit of review. So if you look right here, that 5 to the 6th power, remember what that means is repeated multiplication. Now, if we're repeating something, we're doing it over and over. So basically, we're going to take this 5 and we're going to repeatedly multiply it by itself 6 times. So that's why 5 to the 6th power means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. 6 of them. Okay? Same thing as where 9 over 7, or 9 sevenths raised to the 4th power means 9 sevenths times 9 sevenths times 9 sevenths times 9 sevenths, 4 times. Now, when you're looking at these two right here, what I want you to notice is the difference. Why is this in parentheses? Okay, so a big idea we need to kind of get used to here is if you have a base that is a fraction or a negative. So if it's a fraction or a negative base, okay, so this number right here, this 5 or this 9 sevenths, that has to go to parentheses or has to be put in parentheses. Okay, so if it's a fraction or a negative base, it has to be put in parentheses. So this box here, again, is just reminding you what exponential notation is. It's repeated multiplication, okay? And it says you have seen this kind of notation before. It's called exponential notation. And in general, okay, for any x, for any number x, positive or negative, if you raise it to a positive integer n, basically you're multiplying it by itself that many times. The number x to the nth is called x raised to the nth power, where where n is the exponent of x in x to the nth, and x is the base of x to the nth. So, whew, a lot of words and x's and all that stuff there. But what it's saying here is if I have 5 to the 6th, this 5 here is the base, and the 6 is the exponent. Okay, so hopefully this is some review. But again, we're focusing on this idea that it's repeated multiplication. 5 to the 6th does not mean 5 times 6. If I wanted 5 times 6, I'd write 5 times 6. So let's look at some examples. So examples 1 through 5 here. I know there's really no direction, so I'm going to just say the direction, say that we want to write this as a power. We want to write this in exponential notation. So notice we have the same base. They're all 5s. 5 is being repeatedly multiplied by itself. So our base is a 5, same base, and then you count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to take 5 and multiply it by itself 6 times, 5 to the 6th power. Over here, for example 2, we have 9 sevenths times 9 sevenths times 9 sevenths times 9 sevenths. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Now, here's where we have to be careful here. We don't just want to put 9 sevenths to the 4th. The reason? This 4 here looks like it's just, the 9 is just being raised to the 4th, but not the 7. So this is up here where we talked about if it's a fraction or a negative base, either one, it has to go in to parentheses. So all you have to do is drop some parentheses around there. Now for examples 3 and 4 and 5, let's write it in standard form. So example 3 is a -4 11 to the 3rd. So not only do we have a fraction, but we have a negative base. This 3 right here, remember, that is telling us how many times we're multiplying the base by itself. Since the base is a -4 11ths, we're going to take, in parentheses, a -4 11ths and multiply it by itself 3 times. Now, you'll notice I'm not really putting anything in between the parentheses. When you have parentheses by each other, that means multiplication. You could put a little dot in here if you wanted, or you could put an X, although I tend to get away from using the X as we get into more algebra stuff. Okay, the same thing here in example 4. we're taking a negative 2, a base of a negative 2, and we're repeatedly multiplying it by itself 6 times. Now the problem, what am I missing here? Those parentheses. So I do 1, 2, like I said, if you want to put a dot in, you could. 3, 4, see if I have room. 5, not a 5. 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Works with decimals. If we have 3.8 raised to the 4th power, that means I'm going to take 3.8 and multiply it by itself 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is just our introduction to exponential notation, and where I want our focus right now to be is understanding what it means, and that's that repeated multiplication. You can either write it as or write it in exponential notation, or we can kind of write it in expanded or standard form.